this episode of CPR Ford Garage, we get the Turd Bird back on the road after 6 years of being dead, and then immediately take it on a 250-mile road trip down to Wyoming for our annual Labor Day car cruise. It'll be fine. I drove it like 6 miles before I tore it apart, so I'm confident. I mean, it is 2020. What's the worst that could happen? Okay, so now I'm going to weld that, because what needs to happen now is this inner rail needs to stay and this outer part needs to be beaten out a little bit that way, because you can see it's kind of crinkled in here. Alright, well there's the pre-fitment. Glad to say the turbo coupe bumper bolts right on and looks a lot better. The hole in the fender is even already there. The only question is, will my corner lights and bezels fit? I don't know, we shall see. So I've got to do some repairs on this guy, such as this. So I got to get some fiberglass repair stuff, but this is ready to come apart again. This is ugly, but it fits. The hood looks like it still needs to come forward about 1/4 inch, but yeah. Does this guy still fit without modification? Survey says looks like, yeah, I mean, ish. It's kind of not happy about that thing on the bottom. Let me know if you know. Are these different on a turbo coupe. Well, boys, I think we're about ready to clean this crap up and start shooting some sealer primer. So these are all sprayed with sandable primer and blocked out with 600 grit. This is coming out real nice. That guy, not quite sure. I'm gonna have my brother take a look at that and see what he thinks, but getting close. Okay, here we are, just about ready to shoot some white epoxy primer. I took a tip from Steve Dulcich, who said use primer underneath your paint that's the same color as the paint. That way if you get a little chip, it's not a starkly contrasting color. So body work done. This needed a little bit of body work. It was a little bit rough, but not too bad. Hopefully we can shoot some video when we're spraying. I don't know how bad it's going to get in here, so we'll see.
This is the one. Get in there all nice and close.
When I mix up Sprite and whiskey, that's what that looks like.
Yeah.
As an added bonus, Matt, what year's your truck?
62.
We're working on Grandpa's 62 GMC. This is 2.5 mandrel bent exhaust switch necks down to 1 3/4 inch. It's gonna be sweet. So this is a little tit for tat. I know it's not a Ford, but this is what I'm doing since we did all the paint stuff on my car yesterday. And what is that, Matt? It's a 304 V6?
305 V6.
305 V6. Which, as long as this truck has been in the family, it's never had exhaust on it ever. It ends right at the engine, so now it's going to be a hot rod exhaust. Okay, here is before. Sounds the same. Backfired a little bit.
What if it's just like...
It's still gonna be loud. Okay, maybe not. That's a lot quieter. It does sound like a boat, I told you. It just sounds like an old pickup should. Okay. I am just doing a couple fixes on the wiring harness, which is kind of boring. I'll probably just show you that when I'm done, but I have all of the parts and extra parts laid out. You might have noticed when I tore the car down, that piece was not there. Another thing they forgot to put back on, along with the fender braces that go from here to the outer fender. So fun stuff like that. I have the horns, washer tank, and I did something over here. Oh yeah, the fuel lines and the brake line there were just never bolted down. So those are all, everything's all reattached in the inner fenders. I'm just finishing that stuff up. And I was just gonna show you here real quickly what this looks like now compared to what it did look like. I'll cut in a piece of the old video here. Was hidden this side. This fender apron was totally bent, so they replaced it. This did appear to be silicone. I'm not sure why that's on there, but anyway, they replaced it up to right here where this factory joint is, where this laps over. Lovely, lovely spot welds there, as you can see. Then some tack welds. Not really bent back here by where the K-member is. The bending on this one stops about here, but the frame rail here is bowed. You can see that lovely, so they just replaced the apron there, which is why there's booger weld here, because only the top part of this has been replaced, and I'm guessing this down here is original. So after working very hard on that, flawless, seamless repair, they got to this side and must have just decided that was entirely too much work. Let's just halfway hammer this straight and then cover the rest of it up with Bondo and silicone. Just lovely. You can see why I did it the way I did and how terribly it was done before if you look at all of this compared to the old video. It's not perfect, it's not a show car, but it is one hell of a lot better than it was. Fries are done. So all of this from here forward is all donor, instead of some kind of mishmash, terrible homologation of hackery and butchery. I have gotten the fenders pretty well lined up. You can see I have a nice consistent gap here. I didn't show all that because it's very boring. The paint doesn't match exactly. There's a couple things going on there. This is yellower and this is more of a clean, bright white. I definitely guessed right. I think that this was clear coat. If you kind of look at the sheen, I'm pretty dang sure this is clear coat paint, which it wouldn't have been originally. Anyway, lining up gaps. You start with what you can't move to what you can. If you're lining up the whole car, you line up the door to the quarter, the fender to the door, and then the hood to the fenders. And then a lot of times there's a little bit more fiddling with the fender and then the hood. So I've got it pretty good. But what you can see is I have a nice gap here for stock anyway. I mean, this is not going to be a custom car. That's about a stock gap right there, about a 1/4 inch. But on this side, I've got a wider gap. That's a little too wide. The fender is lined up pretty good and it's out flush with the door, but on a stock car where you're not correcting all the gaps, you end up making a lot of compromises, and that's where I'm at now. So this is good with the door, but wide here. So this is what we're gonna do is I looked at the hood hinges and obviously this wasn't lined up good before. So if you look here at the gap right there where my finger is at the edge of the hinge, and then look at this side, the hood is definitely to the passenger side quite a bit. So we're gonna loosen those hood bolts, slide it that way a little bit, and it also probably needs to come forward just a touch to be even with the front of the fenders. And then we will snug everything down again, and then it's gonna be time to fall down on this thing. And then it's gonna be time to start fitting the bumper cover to everything. So, there you go. Now it's time to get the fender support stuff all straightened out. We're going to use some precise instruments to ensure that they are straight. Maybe? No? Maybe? A little? So it's time to put our bumper reinforcement panel on. Right back on these mostly straightened out supports. You'll notice this piece was missing on the teardown video, and that's just another thing that wasn't done correctly the first time. They must have damaged or lost that. I went ahead and snagged that from the same car that the bumper cover came from, the turbo coupe at the junkyard. Make sure you wear gloves when you handle this because it's raw fiberglass and it'll make you itchy as. So a couple of these had to be repaired. This one was not quite threaded in there super tight. It got a little touch of JB Weld on the threads. This one was split open at the top, and so what I did was push this, I slicked it all up with JB Weld, pushed the stud in there, and then vice grip clamped it back together overnight. This one I didn't have a stud for, and it was a tiny bit busted out at the end, so I reamed it out and I found this old exhaust stud. I wasn't able to find these at the parts store, so I ramrodded that exhaust stud in there with some JB Weld, so should be good. This is what everything looks from the back side in case you're curious. Okay. You can see it came out pretty good. You can see here, the car is dingy and dirty. I cleaned a little spot right there, and that looks a lot closer. I did notice underneath, before I put the fender on, the places that haven't been exposed to the sun, the paint matched pretty dang close. So I'm confident that I could probably cut and buff the whole car and it would match pretty decent, but this looks so much better. I actually like the white rub strip instead of black, so I'm gonna think about what to do with that. I gotta throw side markers in, the cornering lights, inner fenders, throw on a tranny line that I have to make because I lost the other one in the move, and it is good to go. I'll bring you back when that's done, but as for now, I gotta get to tearing this complete front suspension off, because over there on the bench I have 5-lug SN95 Mustang spindles to go on there to convert it to 5-lug. Right out there I have Mustang wheels and some brand new tires to go on it too, so stay tuned for the next one if you want to see that. Here's the other side, and finally the hood latches. I don't have a hood cable because it was broken and you can't get them for these cars. So, but that is nice to have all this working. I'll just show you how this all attaches real quick in case you're wondering. I was actually not missing a part there. That bolts to the header panel. Didn't know that. So that's all secure, and that is the safety catch for the safety latch. This is where the hood actually latches when you pop it. This is that second latch in case that one fails. So what you have here are a bracket there that attaches to this little wing that comes out. Same on the other side. And there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 studs right there. That's the gist of it. You still have these bolts that attach there, and I apologize, I know I didn't fix the creeper. I need a push pin here, and the turbo coupe extension here actually just slides right around the sport fender, and the holes that go through the inner fender liner line up, so that's pretty cool. There's, you can see those studs on the inside up there. I'll need a push pin there. This hole's already there for that stud. I'll need a push pin here. I already got one on the other side. Here's the first initial test drive. Our starting mile's 58,270. Drives pretty good. Alignment's a little sketch. Tires rub a lot. So so far so good. Cruise set at 70. It has oil pressure some. It has some temperature and some amps and some fuel. Check out that cruise RPM at 70. That's why 273 gears are nice. First time on the road. So far so good. We've made it, what, like 30 miles? You know, so that's, I feel good about that. Going on about a 300-mile road trip. So it'll be fine. Only issue so far is the tires, the new tires in the front rub. It's fine as long as you like don't hit bumps or turn, especially when you're braking. I don't know, it looks killer though, so I might have to roll the fender lips on the front to make them stay. Either that or the stock springs are gonna have to go back in. At least the smoke's a little better today.
Yeah, I can actually see the mountains.
The Camaro's exhaust is stinky. Population 83. That's awesome. Why would you even bother? That must be the campground. Yep, Shell Campground and RV Park. Sweet. Shell Store, Tap House and Kitchen. Is that where we're going? Because that means they have beer.
So.
Oh, yes. Fresh pastries.
Ooh, I like pastries.
I like burgers.
I see Maggie. I see a cage. Jimmy! Do you want to wrestle? Bryce, want to wrestle with me? Want to wrestle with me, Bryce?
Hey, abused dogs. Where's the little one? There's Sammy. Hi, buddy. Cute little turd. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. I'll leave you with some shots of some beautiful Wyoming countryside, along with the South Bighorn County Airport, which has a lot of vintage military planes. If you like what you see, make sure you watch the next Thunderbird episode, where I'm going to show you how to do the cheapest 5-lug swap possible. I also have a lot of upgrades planned for the car, including a total recoat at some point, and a very budget heads cam intake swap, as well as an aftermarket computer swap and a 5-speed swap. So again, these are all things you can apply to any Fox body platform car. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Big thanks to my brother Matt for helping me with the paint, especially spraying. This was the first time I sprayed paint from an actual gun. And thank you to my dad for letting us basically destroy his shop and his paint booth.